Hey everyone, welcome to this video tutorial for Tennessee Stud. This is basically the way Doc Watson plays it, but there's also a popular video of Billy Strings playing it for Fretboard Journal, I'll link below. And he plays it with a couple different chords, a couple different licks. So later in this video I'll talk about what chords he's using and we'll compare and contrast the licks a little bit. But this is the way it sounds. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. About 1825, I left Tennessee very much alive. Never would have got through the Arkansas mud if I hadn't been a riding on the Tennessee Stud. Tennessee Stud was long and lean, the color of the sun, and his eyes were green. He had the nerve and he had the blood, now there never was a horse like the Tennessee Stud. A little sloppy there at the beginning anyways, but let's go through this. Talk a little bit about just the form of this tune. So we have kind of an instrumental break. People don't normally solo on this track, like come up with something totally new or play the vocal melody. Every time there's a break, it's that melody. We just do it twice, and then generally we have these shots. Boom, chicka booba, chicka dum, pa pa, do chicka booba, chicka dum, pa pa. And that's the break between the singing. Then you have the verse section, right? Long about 1825. And you normally do that twice. I only did it once just to spare you. But then after that, you have the chorus, right? Tennessee Stud was long and lean. And then you repeat the whole thing over and over again until there's no more lyrics or there's no more people listening to you play. Okay, so let's kind of just go through chunk by chunk of this tune. So we'll talk about just this little intro melody. Ba-ba-doo-ba-doo-doo-ba-doo-doo-doo-doo. Okay? So we're in the key of D, and we're mostly just using a D major scale. It's actually kind of, well, that's it there. So I start with my first finger on this A note and just go down the scale. B, A. Now that's the toughest part. This slide is probably the toughest spot because I'm sliding basically from 2, but you want to make sure that you're using your third finger, because if you use your first finger, you're hooped because you can't get back to this one quick enough, right? So that's the first half. Then the second half, basically the same thing, and then you do that again. Okay, now I'm going to talk about a couple variations you could do. One thing is when you have these D, 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 like that's just a D note a bunch, you can do the banjo trick of hitting this D and then sliding to this D on the lower string. You know, so you'll hear like, that's very common. Another thing Billy does is at the very end, he'll often go and kind of play a D chord on both those last notes. Okay, then we have this little shot section. It's basically D, A, D, chunk, chunk. I'll generally do, and in the tablature, I have kind of a little boot-da on the A, so do, boot-da. It's not so important to get that E note, this second fret here, but it just kind of adds a lot to it. Now these shots, this D, A, D, A, that comes up in the verse and the chorus, so it's nice to get this in your fingers to start. Also, when Billy plays it, he doesn't play A minor at all. He plays C instead. So there are different versions. C and A minor are very similar chords, so you got to listen to who you're playing with, and if they're playing C, just follow whatever they're doing. Or tell them that you want to do A minor. It's another option. Okay, we got the verse. So I'm going to put the chords up. Basically, it's just a D and a C and an A minor, right? Now there's a spot for a lick, and we'll kind of talk about it when we get there. But this is what the verse sounds like. Long about 1825, I left Tennessee, C chord, very much alive. Then you have a bar of a lick. Now, what Doc tends to do is he plays this. Or some little version like it, right? About 1825, I left Tennessee, very much alive. Right? So Next line, I never would have got through the Arkansas mud if I hadn't been a riding on the Tennessee stud. Then we have the shots at the end. Then you normally play the verse again, right? Had some trouble with my sweetheart's pa, and one of her brothers was a bad outlaw. I sent her a letter from my Uncle Bud, and I rode away on the Tennessee stud. Now we're going to go into the chorus. So the chorus is a little tough. We have, I'll put the sheet music up here. You'll notice well, let's talk about the chorus. We have a D, we have a C, we have a G, and we have a B flat, and an A7. Now you'll notice that B flat is for 2 beats. It's a 2/4. So you only play it for a short period. Eyes were green. So let's hear how that sounds, right? The Tennessee stud was long and lean, the color of the sun, and his eyes were green. Now in those 2 bars of A at the end, there's a lick that happens there. Now what Doc basically always plays is you hear this ba-do-dum. Right, so a simple version of that is this. I'll put tab up. What I think I played at the beginning is just a little bit more rhythmically complicated. I'll change that up. Alright, but it's just trying to get that melody. Ba-do-do. You can do it low if you want it. I don't like that as much. Okay. And then the next line. He had the nerve and he had the blood. Now there never was a horse like the Tennessee stud. Then we have the shots again. And then the whole tune repeats. You just go back to... And there you go. You got it. Bam. Good for you. Okay, let's talk quickly about Billy Strings and what he does. So... the chords are quite a bit different. So first off, anytime there's an A minor, he doesn't play A minor, he plays C. So in the shots, and then in the verse, right, basically the same. Long about 1825, I left Tennessee very much alive. I never would. Now that lick is a little bit different, and it actually adds 2 beats to the bar or to the phrase. So if you're playing with someone who's doing that, you got to watch out because it is actually literally 2 extra beats, right? So this is the lick. I left Tennessee very much alive. All right, it's basically just a run up, but it's kind of put it at a weird rhythmical spot. Okay, then I never would have got through the Arkansas mud if I hadn't been riding on the, not A minor, but C, Tennessee stud. Now, he normally doesn't do the shots in between the verses like the way most of the versions I hear Doc play it. Just goes right back into, had some trouble with my sweetheart's pa. Now, the chorus is what's where the biggest difference is, because the chords are quite a bit different, right? So the way he's playing it is, Tennessee stud was F chord, long and back to a D, lean, the G, color of the sun, and then instead of the B flat, we're going to an F. Eyes were green. That's still just the A7, but the lick is quite a bit different. Then the last line is, he had the nerve, an F and a D, and there never was a horse like the Tennessee stud. So it kind of ends on, if you see NC there, it means no chord, it's just rhythm, right? So let me play the chorus the way Billy would play it. The Tennessee stud was long and lean, the color of the sun, and his eyes were green. There never was a horse like the Tennessee stud. There you go. So that's the way Billy does it. Oh, one thing else that I wrote is he often does this D lick. Like often you'll hear this like... that's like the easiest thing on D, but I'd never played that before, so thought I'd show you there. Okay, so last thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to play through it at a slow tempo so you can kind of play along with it if you want or see things a bit more clearly. But what did I want to say? Oh yeah, if you want the PDFs of this, so that's the guitar tab plus like a lead sheet, so if you're playing with a group of people, plus a lead sheet with the chords for Billy playing it, and then all those kind of licks on the guitar tabs kind of all in one place. You can get that on my Patreon down below. The tab, as you've noticed, is in the video, so it's not a big deal, but it really helps if you support me. Lets me do this more, or will let me do this more. Yeah, thanks. Anyways, here we go, nice and slow. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. First, I'm going to go a little quicker. Long about 1825, I left Tennessee very much alive. I never would have got through the Arkansas mud if I hadn't been riding on the Tennessee stud shots. We go straight to the chorus. Well, the Tennessee stud was long and lean, the color of the sun, and his eyes were green. Never was a horse like the Tennessee stud. All right, toodles.